All right, you guys. So we have, of course, the big drama, the big news of the day, which was the Fide Ethics and Disciplinary Commission report. And this is the case 2 of 2023, alleged unfounded accusations of cheating and disparagement of the interest and good name of chess as a sport. So this is the decision. For the Fide Ethics Commission, I'm just going to scroll through certain parts that I've highlighted because, of course, it's very long, very a lot to go through. So let's get going. First things first, the EDC panel. EDC is, I think, your EDC is the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission. Okay, so the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission panel notes that on 15th of March 2023, Mr. Carlsen's lawyer submitted as an immune application requesting the EDC panel to declare the IP report as inadmissible and close the EDC proceedings. Alternatively, to grant a stay of the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission proceedings until December 31st, 2023, to allow for further development in civil suit instituted by GM Hans Niemann against GM Magnus Carlsen in the Eastern Missouri District Court, USA, in October of 2022. The Ethics and Disciplinary Commission panel granted a temporary stay of proceedings on the 18th of April 2023 for a period of 6 months until the 18th of October 2023. The stay was granted in accordance with Procedural Rule 17.2 on the basis that special and compelling circumstances were found to be present. The motivation for this ruling will be uploaded simultaneously with this decision on the Fide Ethics and Disciplinary Commission website. Following the ultimate settlement of the civil litigation suit between Niemann and Carlsen in August 2023, the stay of proceedings was lifted and the respondent was given the chance to file his answer on the merits of his case, which he did on September 22nd, 2023. All right. Chronology. The Ethics and Disciplinary Commission notes that the chronology of events which are the subject matter of the complaint and defense. 9.1. During the Sinkfield Cup, St. Louis, Missouri, USA in September 2022, a controversy arose between GM Magnus Carlsen and GM Hans Niemann when GM Carlsen withdrew unceremoniously from the tournament after losing the match against GM Niemann in round 3. He tweeted a simple announcement of his withdrawal alongside a video of Jose Mourinho saying, "I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble." All right, this is like going back in time, you guys. It's like the good old-fashioned flashbacks. This aroused suspicion in the chess world that GM Carlsen was insinuating that Niemann had made himself guilty of cheating. Interesting wording there, but let's keep going. All right. Next part. After the 5th round of the Sinkfield Cup on September 6, 2022, GM Niemann gave an interview where he admitted to cheating in unrated online chess in the past when he was younger, but denied cheating in the match against GM Carlsen or in any over-the-board game. 3 weeks after this interview, GM Carlsen released a statement stating that GM Niemann's behavior during their Sinkfield Cup game, taken together with earlier suspicion, had convinced him to withdraw from the tournament. GM Carlsen expressed the belief that Niemann had cheated more often and more recently than he had admitted. Okay. Next, we have in the next tournament match between GM Carlsen and GM Niemann, the Julius Baer Generations Cup from 18th to 25th September 22, an online rapid tournament, GM Carlsen resigned after one move and switched off his webcam. On September 26th, Carlsen posted his official statement regarding the controversy on Twitter. He confirmed that he had considered withdrawing from the Sinkfield Cup due to Niemann's last-minute inclusion. Carlsen stated that he believes that Niemann cheated more often and more recently than he had publicly admitted, and that Niemann's unusual over-the-board progress, coupled with him not being tense or even fully concentrating during their Sinkfield Cup game, had convinced him to withdraw from the tournament. He stated that he was limited in what he could say openly without explicit permission from Niemann, obviously due to litigation, but went on to say that he does not want to play against people who have repeatedly cheated in the past, and that his actions make it clear that he is not willing to play chess with Niemann. Okay. Next, we have following GM Carlsen's withdrawal from the Sinkfield Cup, Chess.com removed GM Niemann from their platform and released a report on October 4th, 2022, summarizing their evaluation of GM Niemann's games and their estimation on his online cheating on their platform. It alleged that GM Niemann had likely cheated in more than 100 online games, including prize money events and games when he was live streaming and against multiple top players. Okay. The report concluded that he had likely cheated online as recently as August 2020, shortly after he turned 17, contradicting his statement during the Singfield Cup interview that he had cheated when he was 12 and 16. Important to note. Okay. The report claimed that GM Neiman had privately confessed to cheating to Wrench and was banned from the platform for a time. On the 29th of September 2022, on September 29th, I assume 2022, Fide announced an investigation into Carlsen's claims of alleged cheating and Neiman's response with the intention of clarifying these allegations as this controversy had gained considerable attention in the chess world and internationally. Number 9.7. On October 20th, 2022, GM Neiman filed a lawsuit against GM Carlsen, his company Play Magnus Group, Chess.com Chief Officer Daniel Wrench, and of course myself, GMHikaru Nakamura, for defamation and unlawful collusion, and requested at least US $100 million in damages. This lawsuit was eventually dismissed on June 27, 2023, whereafter Neiman filed an appeal. Okay. The respondent, in his public announcement, which I believe is Magnus' announcement and motivation for a stay of proceedings to EDC, suggested he had knowledge of some relevant information regarding cheating by GM Neiman, which he was not at liberty to disclose because of the lawsuit. On August 28, 2023, a settlement agreement was reached regarding Neiman's appeal, which was withdrawn. The agreement meant that GM Neiman will be able to play on the Chess.com platform again. Okay. So I basically have a lot of stuff highlighted, so we're only going to go through the highlighted stuff because it's obviously a very, very long thing, and I don't want to literally go page by page. After the respondent's loss and before his withdrawal, he met with the chief arbiter, Chris Bird, accompanied by his father, Henrik Carlsen, his second GM, Peter Heine Nielsen, GM Jan Nepomniachtchi, and GM Peter Svidler. Wait, what? Wait. Whoa. So actually, wait a second. So this is basically saying this in the writing, which it sounds as though what happens is there was a meeting between Magnus, his father, Jan Nepomniachtchi, and Peter Svidler with the chief arbiter. So the plot actually thickens immensely here. I'd already sort of alluded to the fact that Jan was one of the people who had spoken about this topic. I don't know if I had said his name. I feel like by this point I have said it, but this was not about Magnus Carlsen solely. There were a lot of other top players who were aware of this, or as it appears in this case, directly involved, like GMs Jan Nepomniachtchi and Peter Svidler. Okay, let's keep going. The chief arbiter informed the IP that the respondent stated that he was going to withdraw from the event because he believed that GM Neiman had cheated in their game. Both GM Nepomniachtchi and the respondent were advised they could use the tournament complaint form to report a fair play violation, which would lead to an investigation by the Fair Play Commission. Neither player opted to lodge a complaint. It is important to note that GM Nepomniachtchi voiced concerns of GM Neiman to the event organizer when he learned of his participation prior to the commencement of the tournament. During the tournament, the arbiters did not observe suspicious behavior on Neiman's part, and Professor Regan did not detect any cheating or anything of concern from a statistical point of view. Now, of course, to me, this is nothing new. Obviously, Jan directly expressed such concerns to myself as well. So this is, to me, this is not actually anything new. I sort of have hinted at this too, that Nepo said this directly to me as well. He was talking to me, and I don't think that either myself or Magnus were the only people who he was talking to either. So let's keep going. Next up, we have the report noted that rating development has been widely addressed in similar cases where cheating allegations have been made in the past. The speed of rating development is not recognized as an indicator of cheating unless supported by evidence of cheating with Z-score. The report stated that although GM Neiman did accomplish quite an achievement with rating development, it did not strike the IP as an anomaly. Okay. The Chess.com Hans Niemann report was also discussed in the IP report. Chess.com is primarily concerned with games played on their website. GM Neiman referred to games played on their website in his interview after round 5 of the Singfield Cup on September 6, 2022, where he admitted to having cheated on this website in the past when he was 12 and 16 years old. The respondent, in his Twitter statement of 26 September 2022, responded by expressing his belief that Neiman has cheated more and more recently than he has publicly admitted. Okay. The authors of the Chess.com report indicated that GM Neiman was being untruthful, stating that he had cheated more than his public statement suggests. They stated that their findings show that GM Neiman has likely cheated in more than 100 online chess games, including several prize money events, and that he was already 17 while playing some of these matches, which I think they're saying is a discrepancy versus, was it 16 or 12 and 16, whatever they said earlier in this document. Okay. The analysis of the chess.com report revealed discrepancies in GM Neiman's statement. He claimed that cheating took place, it actually says right here, when he was 12 and 16 years old, but the games of 2017 and the games against GM Benjamin Bach in August of 2020 occurred after he had turned 17 in June. Another important discrepancy is that the cheating took place in rated online games. Okay. The IP report also included 2 anonymous GM analysis super GMs to ascertain, in their opinion, whether cheating could have occurred in the games. Neither GM believed cheating occurred, as the games were normal for a GM-level player. However, one GM did remark that some of the games were somewhat suspicious, or somewhat suspect. The IP report, 2 anonymous GMs. Who is this? This is not me, by the way, just to be clear. But then what this does say is that Fide took this very seriously then. They pretty clearly consulted with top GMs on this report, which is actually very important. Sure, not you. I mean, unless I'm misreading this means they directly contacted GMs. So, of course, it's not me. I mean, I had no interaction with this, like, Fide panel. So, you guys can be weird and whatever, but that's my read of this. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that's my read. It's Geary, definitely. Well, okay, whatever. Who knows? But let's keep going. All right. Taking into consideration the facts laid down in its report, the fair play anti-cheating measures in place during the entire tournament, the analysis of GM Neiman's best tournament, statistical analysis by Professor Regan, multiple anonymous GM analysis of the chess.com reports, statements made by GM Neiman and GM Carlsen, compounded with no evidence of cheating found at the Sinquefield tournament or other over-the-board tournaments analyzed. The IP, which I think is the interdisciplinary commission, whatever it is. I mean, this is getting confusing with the IP, but I think this is basically the Fide people. The IP is also annoying because it means, like, I think of IP as intellectual property. So it's like really confusing when I hear IP. The IP concluded that the accusations against GM Neiman was unfounded as they concern over-the-board chess. The IP also concluded that the accusations by the respondent against GM Neiman are likely to have brought chess into disrepute in the public eye. Okay. IP means Internet Protocol too? True. The IP report touched on critical considerations when investigating an accusation of cheating. There was heavy reliance on Professor Regan's statistical analysis, as he is recognized as a leading expert in detecting cheating in chess. Statistical analysis of the selected FIDE-rated games of GM Neiman did not yield evidence of a claim of cheating in over-the-board games. However, the EDC chamber agrees with the respondent's argument that at the level of high-performing grandmasters, it is highly unlikely that this methodology can detect cheating, which may have occurred at the time of a single move. Whoa. So wait, if I read this correctly, then what they're saying is that, what does this mean? I have to understand. What does this mean? They're saying that, if I understand this correctly, it's saying if someone were to cheat on one single move, the Z-score, which I think is Ken Regan saying, would not detect cheating. Is that correct? I think that's what it's saying, but I could be wrong. So it's saying it's saying they can't prove Ken Regan's negative findings, essentially. Okay. So that means Regan's model is bad. I mean, I'm not some data scientist, so obviously I'll leave that to them. So it's saying given one single move, it can't detect cheating. Okay, fair enough. Is there anything else in here to cover? Or was that pretty much it? I guess is the question. Let me see. What else do we have? Oh, we've got more. Okay. The respondent in his arguments named a few other grandmasters who voiced concern about GM Neiman's play in other tournaments. This is corroborated by the IP report itself, as it cited 2 grandmasters who voiced similar concerns about GM Neiman, such as GM Neiman's explanation of his chess moves not correlating to his level of play. Wow, okay. The respondent described several tournaments in which he played against GM Neiman, which allowed him to critically analyze his play and his demeanor during over-the-board games as well as online games. The respondent has even identified games where he has lost graciously to GM Neiman. The respondent claims that the post-game analysis and comments by GM Neiman made to him about his moves during the game did not correspond to his ELO rating. The respondent also claims there is a huge disparity between GM Neiman's highest level of play and lowest. So the first thing, this is actually important. This is very important because, like, when we look at this report, it's very clear that Fide did not just basically look at this for 5 seconds, or I mean, the commission did not look at this for 5 seconds. It's very clear they talked to strong grandmasters. And here, if I understand this correctly, they're basically saying there's some GM who played against Hans both over the board and online and anonymously basically made these comments, right? Who is the respondent? I mean, this basically is saying someone who's played him online and over the board. Or is respondent Magnus? Oh, is respondent Magnus here? Am I misreading this? Oh, it is Magnus saying this. Okay, so this is Magnus. Sorry. Okay. So did not course. Okay, so Magnus is saying that Hans's moves during the game did not correspond to his ELO rating, claims there was a huge disparity between his highest level of play and lowest. Okay. We have the respondent, which, as I understand it, is Magnus, just to be very clear, gave an analysis of round 3 of the Sinkfield Cup game where he states that GM Neiman made a series of good moves which were not expected of him given observation from past games. The respondent also states that GM Neiman chose a much more complicated line to win when grandmasters of his level would have readily found the obvious line to win. The respondent also addressed the disposition of GM Neiman, where he claims Neiman did not show signs of nerves, which were usually exhibited in their previous games. There were also no signs of exerting himself or actual thinking. This is where I want to see the videotape. Actually, I feel like St. Louis, the chess club, they must have a video. This feels like something where it's like Magnus should say this, and they should literally show like the 5-hour videotape of the whole game. That it's like this is like I want to see like I literally want to see like Magnus says this, and then let's see the actual like the videotape. Maybe Fide even saw it. Who knows? Maybe Fide saw a videotape. Maybe St. Louis gave him the tape. Who knows? But let's keep going. Okay. Exhibited in their game's actual thinking. The reservations held by the respondent were compounded after their round 3 game when Neiman in his post-game commentary apparently referenced a non-existent game the respondent supposedly played against another grandmaster and provided as nonsensical explanation as to how he was able to exploit a rare opening line the respondent used in their game. Now, I forget which game that was exactly that Hans was referring to, but it was a game that came out of another order in that Nimzo and not the order that Magnus played, but it could occur via transposition. Okay. The respondent claims that the information learned about GM Neiman's play through his own experiences playing him in online and over-the-board games has led him to question the integrity of GM Neiman's play, compounded with the concerns shared by other top players. Professor Regan's methodology was also challenged in the respondent's response, where the important point was made that Professor Regan himself has acknowledged that his methodology is imperfect to the point that it cannot catch cheating on one move per game. Rather, by Professor Regan's own rough estimate, a cheater would need to cheat on 3 moves per game in a 6 to 9 round tournament to have a fair chance for him to be caught cheating using his methodology. Isn't this kind of exactly what you should not be saying here, or am I crazy? Isn't this essentially saying that, like, if you have your average 2,500 GM and they go and they cheat on 2 moves a game, it's not going to catch them? Like, I mean, this is kind of the whole problem with the chess. This is like the problem with chess.com, actually. Is like for chess.com, like they, as I understand, they can't release their algorithms because then people will understand where the holes are and how to get past the system. So, like, isn't this basically telling a 2,500 that you can cheat on 2 moves a game if you can actually cheat and it won't catch you? I mean, that's scary, actually. That's really scary to say that. Let's keep going. The respondent, of course, is Magnus, that in a game involving high-performing grandmasters that could be decided based on a single move, Professor Regan's methodology is highly unlikely to detect cheating. Okay, wow. Fide is trying to bait people. So probably what they're doing is like some 5-head move, right? It's like basically what they're saying is no. Maybe actually if they're really 5-head, they're saying if you cheat on 1 move, it can't detect it. But actually in reality, maybe Ken Regan can detect it on 2 moves. And so when he says 3, it's like you go 2, it's gonna catch you. That would be the real 5-head thing to do. But who knows? Okay. Okay. So The EDC notes its disappointment with the lack of evidence provided by the respondent throughout the communication in its initial stages of the matter. When the respondent pressed for a stay of proceedings because he was unable to provide the evidence he possessed, respondent held out to the EDC that he had some concrete evidence he could provide after the U.S. litigation was settled or decided upon. This was never provided to the EDC. Okay, this is important too, because this is saying that Magnus, after everything was settled, since he's a respondent, he had concrete evidence which he did not ever provide to the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission. Okay. 11.7 of the disciplinary code prohibits reckless or manifestly unfounded accusations of chess cheating and prohibits the expression of opinion if they are not based on acceptable grounds. I'm going to keep this in mind for down the road, maybe. I'll keep Article 11.7 in my head based on recent events. Let's keep going. 13.7, we have the question arises whether the respondent extended the label of Niemann being a cheater in over-the-board games, and not in the confines of online chess, as was admitted. It can be surmised that the comment was meant to include over-the-board games, as the respondent referenced the Sinkfield Cup game and is withdrawn. The EDC chamber finds it unnecessary, however, to make a distinction between different forms of cheating, whether it be over-the-board cheating or online cheating in chess. It does not make one lesser of an offense than the other. It's still an assault on the integrity of the sport. This I actually 100% agree with. I completely agree. And I think Fide and chess.com, all the organizations involved, they really do need to keep this in mind, because I completely agree. I think MVL has also said this. I don't know if he said it publicly, but MVL has also said that online and over the board should be treated the same regardless. There should be no difference, period. They should be treated the exact same way. Okay. And then it looks like this is a conclusion, right? 13.8, the respondent is accordingly not guilty of a charge of Article 11.7. So they're saying Magnus has not brought, it's saying he has not made a reckless or manifestly unfounded accusation, basically. They're saying that he's not guilty of this. Okay. So let's keep going. We have 15.3. The respondent's withdrawal from the Sinkfield Cup and the events to follow gained considerable media attention in the chess world and internationally. It took on a life of its own, bearing similarity to what was described in Case 3 of 2015. The intrigue rising from the case of purported cheating, especially among high-level players, attracts instant publicity, goes viral within a few days thanks to a certain CEO of a very prominent company, and leaves tracks in the media for a long time, even if the cheating case in the end is dismissed as groundless and unjustified. Okay. So, 15.4. Having regard to this distinctive feature of the present case, which lies in the fact that the involved player is a young rising star and the accusations were leveled by the then world chess champion and current strongest player in the world, the EDC particularly considered the impact that accusations of cheating may have on both and the high standard duty of care expected to be observed regarding Fide's general interest that must be protected. Media attention should not only be perceived as negative. The coverage of this matter made chess a wide and popular topic of discussion. Cheating is a sore topic in every sport, and chess is not peculiar in this manner. Therefore, the EDC chamber does not believe that the attention in this case is gained has harmed the reputation and interest of Fide. On the contrary, the EDC chamber believes that it may have piqued the interest and awareness of many persons now desirous of learning how cheating can actually occur in chess. So it's basically saying that this was not bad for chess, but now everyone's curious. It's like saying that this information, it's saying it's good for chess, basically. It's all publicity is good publicity, is what it's saying, right? Okay, interesting. Interesting. The respondent is found not guilty of this violation. Okay. Under Article 11.9b, it is considered an offense for players to withdraw from a tournament without valid reason. The respondent withdrew from the Sinkfield Cup as a protest because he believed that GM Niemann cheated in the game. However, he failed or refused to use the proper procedural means available to players, which is to file a tournament complaint form to report the possible fair play violation and a possible cheating incident. Okay. The respondent is found guilty of a violation of Article 11.9, basically withdrawing from a tournament, and he is fined, I believe, $10,000. Let's see what it says. It says, accordingly, and taking into account all of the above, the EDC chamber unanimously decides as follows. The respondent, GM Magnus Carlsen, is found not guilty of a breach of Articles 11.7 and 11.9 of the Fide Disciplinary Code. The respondent is found not guilty of a breach of 11.6. The respondent is not found guilty of a breach of 11.9. the respondent is found guilty of Article 11.9b of the Fide disciplinary code. Okay. And then it says the respondent is fined 10,000 euros payable to Fide's financial department within 30 days of the date of this decision. Okay. Now, Magnus can appeal it if he wants, but I doubt he will. So he's guilty of basically withdrawing the tournament, without a valid reason. Let me go back to 11.9 before I lose my mind. I think it's without a valid reason, right? It's 11.9b. So 11.9b. Wait, I see 11.9 here. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yeah, basically withdrew from the tournament, so he gets fined 10,000. And I think that's pretty much the end of it. So, I assume that he'll pay it. He could always appeal it, or he could just be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna pay you $10,000, and you have to do it." But considering Magnus is playing in the World Rapid and Blitz, I'm pretty sure he will be. So, pretty much a big nothing burger. I am actually, as I read through this, I'm very happy to see that there were some other names listed. One thing that I've said a few times on this topic, and I think a lot of people at the time assumed that I was just making certain things up to get clicks or otherwise. At the end of the day, the fact is, when I said there were many top players talking about this topic and they were suspicious, this was based in fact. That's the bottom line. It was based in fact. There were things that I heard both directly and indirectly. So people should keep that in mind when we're talking about this specific topic. Because of course I ended up getting sued too, along with everybody else. And it's important to note that, when things are said, it's not always about clickbait. There are things that are based in truth at the end of the day. So that's the bottom line for the article. So I think we're going to stop covering it right there. But I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys have not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button below, and we'll keep the great content coming here on YouTube.